Hi, this is your host Lolita Cros, and you're watching Eye to Eye. In today's episode, we go to Brooklyn to photographer Roe Etheridge's studio, whom I've set up on a studio date with fellow photographer Tina Barney. What do a Gen X and a baby boomer have in common? More than you might think.
I feel like I knew the word for this at some point, but when influence skips a generation,
Oh, I like that.
I don't know what the word is.
And you wonder why that happens.
Yeah.
Why does youth like to go back in time? And is it they're looking at it in a different way than we did, of course, but they're just seeing something very hip. I'm looking at yours, and even that just one picture, and I'm thinking, there's no way in a million years I could ever take that picture. And how much that has to do with your whole entire being, where you grew up, where you went to school, what music you were interested in. For me to be that, I don't want to use the word slacker, but what else could I use?
Yeah.
It's like it's not in my being.
Yeah.
You know, I'm so organized and everything has a little place, but
Yeah.
just the way that is.
I'm solidly Gen X slacker,
Well, just the way your hat is. You're just lucky you're handsome.
You started, some of your early photos were the family fridge.
I love what happened with the dog.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting. It's so nostalgic. It sort of looks like, those old movies. Mm-hmm.
It's like a self-portrait. It's a portrait of my mother. It's a portrait of that time. That's why it's the first picture in the book.
Funny that you're obviously from a different generation, but you're doing a book going back in time and about your family. I am doing one now too. I don't know if you did this book during COVID, did you?
It started in COVID.
See, I think COVID had a lot to do with people
Absolutely.
being stuck at home and finding things from the past and then going through.
So that's the other thing that was interesting in the theater manners, that like it is a straight chronological sequence, right? I mean, it basically goes from 82 to 96 or
you have
97.
a good memory. Yeah.
And that's why when you look through it, you also see like the seeds of what's to come, but also that there's this range happening. It's musical.
So by the titles, you see that those people age and grow through time.
Or this one, this is the classic.
Marina's room,
Before, after.
Oh, yeah.
This one is
In the same
from
room.
87, this one's from 97. The same kid, same room, different attitude.
Even within that range, there's the same voice. When I worked for PL, I was like asking him, what's the secret? What's the secret sauce? And he was like, you got to find your voice. And then I was like, okay, but I have more than one. So is it okay if I find my voices?
But that's such a scary thing to tell somebody young, too.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're not scared, then they're out of it. They should be scared.
Yeah, you have to be. Some of the problem with art education was that I felt I'm not smart enough. I need to know Foucault backwards and forward or something like that.
Well, that sounds better than the students that think they're going to be famous and be in a gallery when they graduate. Like, why don't the teachers just knock them on the heads and give them a little clue?
I saw this quote by Roland Barthes, who described a photo as the living image of a dead thing. And I feel like
that's good.
Both of you guys, Tina is more about time capturing, so it's not quite something that's dead. It's something that's maybe going out of style or going out of, tradition.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, when I was young, I realized the preciousness of time, and that you can miss really seeing something. In other words, I wanted to say, notice this. This is fabulous. This is spectacular, this moment. I was very angry that people took things for granted. The Thanksgiving football game were precious to me. I don't know why. It might have had to do the way I grew up. I didn't grow up in a family kind of existence that there would be lots of people around. This picture, though, these pictures that are before I even thought about being a photographer, and I think some of the ideas were so dramatic, but I worried about things disappearing and falling apart.
Pre-dystopia kind of thing, yeah.
You touch more on the actual dead. There's this great still life that I have somewhere of this fruit basket with some mold
Oh,
on
yes.
Oh yeah, the moldy fruit
That's
thing.
that's
yeah.
pretty important.
it. Yeah, it's a great,
Yeah.
great image. It's really capturing something as it's decaying.
Were you thinking that?
That was the intention. You know, I think it was for a Vice cover. It was a one-off. That was the cool thing about working with Jesse. Was that like you could do stuff that was just one picture, you know, and just like give me a cover. You know, it was like sort of old school in a way. Like,
I like that.
I want to do this like decayed fruit thing. So I bought a bunch of fruit at the deli and put it in that bowl, put it in a paper bag because they said like, you know, it goes faster or something.
Sure.
So I left it for like 10 days. And then and you can see the paper bag, I just cut the paper bag out, put it on my little wooden barrel thing there. And only the strawberries had got the fuzz on it, which was actually scarier than, I thought everything was going to be like, you know, like really dark, but the peaches and the oranges, these other, the banana barely, like the other things didn't rot. It was like, shit, man, this is like, they're so genetically engineered that you can't even rot
Kill
these
them.
things, you know?
I bet you that photo in the 70s would have looked different.
Yeah. But the lighting is beautiful and the yellow color. Did you like that?
It is
Yeah,
lit.
this is not, don't look at
It is
the
lit,
I hate
and then
to
there's
say
a
it, I
mirror,
like that.
a mirror
that's
bouncing
great.
back into
Oh
it.
God, really?
Oh,
I'm gonna
really?
steal that idea.
So it's like lit from this side, and then I had like a cheap ass mirror just like right here. So it just like gives it a little bit of a, almost like a hair light, because you know, like we had this wooden stuff behind.
Yeah.
You guys didn't talk about another subject that you shoot a lot, which is yourselves. You have a few self-portraits, both of you. Is it just one day you wake up and you're like, this is a day where I need to photograph myself, or do you plan it ahead? Like, what's the thinking behind it?
I think that the self-portrait, usually in the history of art, is the most important work. But I think it's a very interesting exercise to say, who am I? And then what is this going to do to represent that? Well, it's almost like you owe it to history.
Uh-huh.
And also, what is the medium you're using? So I would do it in an 8x10.
Mm-hmm.
I do watercolors. I do paint too.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I paint my photographs.
Okay.
No one's seen, but one day I'd like to show them.
Yes.
I'd like to see everybody's self-portrait.
The word that came to mind was like that duty. There's like a sort of dutiful urgency, like Cindy Sherman does something with self-portrait. Everybody has different ways, but like, you know, for Cindy, it's like that's the core thing, and it's like this multiplicity of characters with her underneath. Whereas like, I feel like you and I both are sort of like, it's more of a depiction of us, you know, using the apparatus that we've been pointing at others. And so when you bring it back to yourself, it's almost like, how important is it to me that I look good in this picture? How important is it to me that this communicates something about who I think I am, you know, or hides something about who I am?
And then this one is from the Shelter Island
Yeah, from the Shelter Island book,
body of work.
which is like connected to the permanent summer. When we were going to Shelter Island or wherever for that period in the summer, it was almost like, I don't know what's going to happen, but something's coming out of this.
I love the
Well, I love
composition of it
that.
and the
I know,
foreground,
the hand on,
background.
his
Little
hand on my heart
hand.
just like kills
Oh,
me.
would kill me, and I don't even know him.
It's interesting, we were talking about like our childhood sort of steeping in photography, or, you know, being a part of the picture or knowing about it. And I think for my kids, there's a sort of inherent knowledge that comes from being around it. And so he definitely wasn't posing, but it was also like, I couldn't have told him to put his hand right there at that moment. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's authentic, but it's also like, it probably does have something to do with being around it so
definitely.
much.
And you have 2 shows with Andrew Kreps and Gagosian this year.
Wow.
With, in parallel with the book that you just
Yeah, so
published,
the
that's about to come
Polychronic
out.
book.
And Tina, you have one show coming up at
A show in
Kasmin
March
Gallery.
at Kasmin, and the book's supposed to come out in the spring.
And
Yeah,
we're
we're
very-
both lucky.
Yeah,
We're very
just
lucky
like
to have you
scrapping.
guys.
All
so
right.
thank
Well,
you
thank
very
you.
much,
Thank
both of
you.
you
I'm glad
guys.
to
Thank
see
you,
you
thank
again.
you.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't probably. I lead
You
a
can go to
quiet
his
life.
opening and you can
Yeah,
go to our opening.
gee.